And that's how I lost it. Like it slowly faded, but it never died. That's, I think, the important part. It's never died, and now it's me obviously trying to revive it again. So I'm gonna get into the third part. Okay, cool. How to actually revive that dream that you once lost. And I mean, the first part is you want to revisit it. Why did you want it? Why did it matter so much? There was a time in your life when you had this fire that pulled you. And we talk about discipline, right? We have these chats about be consistent, be disciplined, etc., etc. But there's something I learned. I think it's earlier this year or late last year actually, that was quite interesting around discipline. And it was the case of, I guess, I don't know if they did studies. People are talking about, oh, studies show this, yada, 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 but they actually can't pinpoint anything. I don't know if they did studies, but I think they did. And what they saw was your discipline or your grit. It was actually grit. I think it was a TED talk I was listening to. Your grit is directly correlated to your interest in the specific domain. So instantly I was like, oh wow, okay, that makes so much sense, right? You think of, Cristiano Ronaldo, Michael Jordan, all these people, right, who were ultra disciplined. They were crazy. And you kind of think, man, these people are so disciplined, you could put them anywhere and they'd be disciplined. But I mean, what this is showing is no, right? They've found their thing and they're absolutely obsessed about that. And they've shown levels of discipline that other people can't show, right? Which is fantastic, right? That's why they are revered, I guess, loved, respected as much as they are. But you put them in a completely different place, something they're not interested in, something just not that good at. It's not going to be the same. And I remember hearing a story about Ronaldo where I think he was in high school and I don't know, he got in trouble with the teacher or something. And I think he threw a chair or something and then he quit. Like he quit school. And it's like, yeah, that's not consistent with the person we've come to know today, right? Where you're like, this person doesn't quit. He's crazy. Like he's consistently going after it. But that's within the domain of football. But when he came to school, he was like, I don't care about this. This doesn't do anything for me. He threw in the towel like very, very early. And I think that's important because that helps us kind of break the, I guess, glass ceiling, if you can call it that, of cool. There are these people who are disciplined and there's these people who are not. And I want to try to be like that person. And it kind of changes it into something that's a bit more in line with our life's experience. Because there's this thing I hear on Modern Wisdom podcast where Chris Williamson is always quoting this thing where he says, if you're already succeeding at something you hate, imagine how much better you'd be doing at something you love. And it just ties in so nicely with this thing I'm learning about grit being tied to something you are interested in. So if you're put in a domain that you don't like, and I think this quote was mainly in relation to people in jobs that they don't like. It's like, man, if you're doing somewhat well in a job you hate, imagine how much better you'd be doing in something you love. And it's just, again, giving that encouragement to be like, bro, if you don't like, the job you're at, and like, oh, I want to do this thing, take the risk, man. Take the risk. If you're doing so well in this thing, imagine how much better you'd be doing in something you actually love, right? So the chances of your success are actually much higher. But even if you fail, you can always come back. That was kind of the encouragement around that. But for me, the thing I'm taking away from this is mainly like your discipline is linked to your interests. So I think it's important when you revisit, like, why did you want that thing so much? Why did it matter? What is that thing that really got you going? And really spend some time thinking about that. And what would life look like if you were actually doing something you loved? If you could, that whole thing, how big would you dream if you knew you couldn't fail kind of thing. It's important. I think this quote from Modern Wisdom, from Chris Williamson, really ties it in nicely. It speaks to that. And I think it's important that you find that fire back, right? And then the next part is you want to reintroduce it, right? So I spoke about how I pivoted from my football to just, I guess, general self-improvement and then content creation, right? Content creation became the thing now. And again, I've revived it now. I'm trying to revive it where I'm like, cool, content creation, great. But now what's the direction? What do you want to do with this thing? And now obviously I've got the Vanguard. I want to build a place where young Christian men can come and have what I wanted. What I wanted, I wish I had my whole life. Other young Christian men who are getting after it in life. We're trying to improve. We're trying to walk in the purpose that God has for them. We have a similar vision and we can help each other, right? That's now again it's been new and improved, and you've got to do the same thing. That fire you had, it obviously started somewhere, and that's rare, right? It doesn't, you're not just going to get that fire for every little thing. You're going to get it for something that really speaks to you, and you got to again, you got to revisit, as I said at the first point, what made you like it so much. And for me, I got to go back and like, okay, I love football. Football's a great sport. I absolutely love it. But honestly, the thing that I really wanted the most out of all of that was, again, living a life where I've got my boys, got my wife, got my kids, and I've got my pursuit. That's always been the consistent thing. And again, I've pivoted that thing to cool. I have this new thing that I love, content creation. I still love sports. And you've got to think about what would life look like if you could design it from scratch, right? You don't want to live a life where you've drifted into things. You want to live a life where you've intentionally designed it. And I was like, cool. I love sports. Like, it's not just football now. Like, I love sports. I love tennis. I like basketball and a lot of other sports. I'm like, cool. In a life that I would love to live. Actually, I love that. And I love music as well. I love absolutely singing and all of that. And I'm like, cool. I love content creation. This is what I want to do. I had to kind of spend some time, and this is maybe a topic for a different day. But you got to go back and say, cool, what are my interests? I think you probably would have heard of this thing where it's a Venn diagram, and you've got your interests and your strengths. And there's a third part. I forgot the third component, but mainly there's two things: your interests and your strengths. Where do they align? Oh, and then it's opportunity, right? Where you're actually able to do something, right? So cool. You have this thing with your interest. That's where you want to start. What are you interested in? So for me, I was like, cool, interested in football, interested in music, interested in content creation and this kind of thing. There's other interests as well, but these are the three main things. I'm like, I love this thing so much. Then you got to look at strengths. And I was like, cool, what are my strengths? I was like, okay, cool. Now, I love music. I can sing. That's great. That is a start. Sports, probably too old now to actually like try to pursue any kind of career. And honestly, the risk you take pursuing all of that is pretty tough. But I wouldn't say I have a strength there. And then content creation, I'd say I'm a pretty good like people person, and I think I can definitely improve my speaking ability to a point where I can actually create interesting content. And I've also got the not the social proof, but the proof for myself from 2021, 2022, where I did create content, short form content, and I grew very big, right? So I've got that. I can say I have that strength. Then there's the opportunity part, and I mean, you can change it how you want to change it. For me, I was just kind of like, again, if I was designing a life, what would be the ideal blend between all of that? Because you don't want to live a life where you haven't pursued your interests. I think that's a miserable life. Um, I hate hearing stories of like people who, they got to their deathbed and they're like, man, I regret not doing this or whatever. And I think uh, a big disservice we do to ourselves, one of the biggest disservices you can do to yourself is not pursuing your interest, not allowing yourself to actually just enjoy your interest. So for me, cool, I've got these three things. I love content creation and like just people, like Vanguard stuff, where it's like people and encouraging people, etc. I love music, I love sports. I'd do myself a big disservice if I lived a life where I didn't get to pursue all three of those things. Now, what needs to happen though is you need to figure out a life where what can you actually make a career out of, right? And you've got to use your logic here. I was like, cool, music. To pursue a career in that is, I mean, it's rough. It's all going to be rough. It's all going to be tough, right? But again, I've got to think about the mechanics that go into pursuing a music career. And I was like, actually, and I remember hearing this from Iman Gadzi. I remember he spoke about this because he's this online, online business guru or whatever. But I really enjoyed a lot of his content as well. One of the things he said was like, okay, I love sports. Like I think he loves football as well. He was like, yeah, I look at a lot of like I've chatted with a few footballers and like athletes and stuff who are professionals, and I mean their lives they don't enjoy that sport anymore because obviously it's become their life, right? And it's like, actually I can live a life where I'm doing my business and getting rich and all that stuff, and I actually have the time to actually enjoy playing sports or doing whatever it is that I want. And I remember that stuck with me because now I'm like, cool, music. Do I have to like go pursue a career in it? And I was just thinking about everything. I'm just like, nah, I do not want to do all that. I love singing. I've loved singing since I was a kid. I bought a keyboard like last year, and I've learned how to play chords and stuff. And I actually want to get a guitar next year just to play. But I'm not interested in learning music theory. I'm actually like, I'm not interested in learning all this fancy stuff. And I mean, you probably want to learn that kind of stuff, right? If you want to get professional. And then also, I'm not interested in playing the I guess, the political games. I don't even know where I'd start to get to a point where you can do music full time. And I was like, cool. Would I be happy if I lived a life where I'm doing something else, but I actually get time to just play on my guitar, play on my keyboard. I have myself like a nice little studio, and I get to play and I guess spend time in there once, twice, three times, however many times a week, just recreationally. And I'm like, yeah, I'd be very happy with that. I'm like, cool. Okay, music, not going to be a career. Same with sports. It's not going to be a career. Would I be happy with a life where I get to play sports once, twice, three times a week, whatever it is? I'm like, yeah, I'd be very, very happy with that. And then that left me with content creation. I'm like, I love this thing. And I'm like, cool. The vision that kind of comes together now where I'm like, I'd love, I'd be very, very happy with a life where I get to do this thing full time and I get to create content, do the clip ups and learn obviously about social media and all that stuff, but mainly get to build a good enough, I guess, body of work in terms of content where I'm like, I'm sitting here chatting to the camera, but I've sharpened, I guess, my ability to speak, the topics I'm speaking on, and again, the I guess I wouldn't say coaching aspect, but building the community that I always wanted, which is again what this whole thing is centered around. And then getting to a place where I can connect guys, and we can get together and we can learn how to get better together and self improvement, theology, all this stuff, right? I'm like, I'd love that if that's my full time job and I'm spending, you know, most of my day. That's my full time job, and I'm doing that during the week and all that stuff. And I get to spend time doing music and get to spend time doing football and with my family, all that stuff. I'm like, that's great. Now I've got a vision. I've got a clear vision in terms of what I'm aiming at, which is great.